Welcome to the Sisterhood of Mummy Imperfect, the weekly podcast where I, Mummy Imperfect, aka Rina, Deepthi, Annabelle, explore the many fascinating parts of being a female, where I look at female-focused news and entertainment stories, and where I celebrate the game changers. Now, you've probably already binge-watched Series 3 of Indian Matchmaking, and if you haven't, what are you even doing with your life? Because this is the one where Sima Aunty, Sima from Mumbai, comes to London to help singletons in London find their perfect match. And one of those singletons was Priya Ashra. And I'm so excited to be speaking to Priya now. Hello.
Hi, Rina. Thank you
Rina.
for having me. Is it Rina?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. You know what? It's weird spelling. Don't worry about it. Everyone does
I'm not used to that spelling.
I know.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you. I'm so excited to speak to you. And I loved following your story in the series. Anyway, I'm really excited to speak to you. It probably seems like quite a long time for you now. When was it even filmed?
So we started filming December 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it kind of it felt a little bit like, oh, when the show finally came out, I was like, finally. It just felt like it was something I was dying to tell people about, but I just couldn't. So it was nice to finally be able to tell people too.
Yeah, because the whole thing was filmed then. Is that where it began filming?
So it kind of started. They started in December 2021, and then they kind of came in and out basically. So within a period of 7 months, they kind of came in and out and doing filming. So yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. And I mean the end of season 2 when you popped up was really exciting. When like, oh my god, you're coming to England. Oh, and I think that kind of left people feeling quite excited, especially like British Asian people.
Oh, definitely.
What made you apply for it?
Well, it was all kind of by chance, really. I had a friend, and she had something come through in her inbox, and she still tells me, unfortunately, she's married with 2 children, so she's like, but I feel like I've got someone else that would be a really good fit. And then she forwarded it to me, and one night I did the application form, thinking, let me just give it a try and see what happens. And also, for me, I guess this is another way to try for dating, to date and find a potential partner as well. So I was really open to the opportunity, and then I guess I just kept getting through to each stage, and here we are today.
Were you a bit nervous appearing on there, like, oh, everybody's going to know my story, it's TV and that kind of thing?
Do you know what? I think for me, like I said in the show, I think divorce for me was something that I hid for a while. I wasn't comfortable talking about it, but now I feel like I'm at a stage where I'm really comfortable to talk about it, and I hope that others can feel inspired and learn from my story, that things are going to be okay. And I think that was probably a little bit of a push for me to actually go on the show as well.
Yeah, but I think that that's a really nice thing because I know people like in my family and stuff who are divorced, and they carry like a deep trauma from that still. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I had this divorce and stuff, and where it's kind of like, they don't have kids or anything like you, like, you can start again, but it's still that thing. Did you feel like you had to do a lot of work to let that go? The whole thing of, you're divorced and what people are going to think and that kind of thing.
I think it was a lot of inner work. I think there was a part of me where, you're probably in denial for a few years that this actually happened, and then suddenly you're kind of hit with the reality. And I spent a lot of time kind of pouring into myself, essentially understanding myself a lot more, trying to figure myself out. And I think from that process, when you try to understand yourself and you put that inner work in, you eventually just start to accept yourself. And I think a lot of this process came about by probably putting myself, having new experiences, putting myself experiences I probably would never have done before. And I think for me, through that process of trial and error, I think I learned a lot about myself in that process. And I'm really, at the time when I reflect back to it, it felt like a time which was very explorative for me. I never really, my life was very different in my 20s, and those are your formative years, and you come into your 30s and essentially trying to figure out, like, who am I without the identity of marriage? And that's been quite the journey for me.
Yeah, I mean, being South Asian, that is quite a big part of identity. What that identity that's thrust upon you, like, oh, you know, you should be married by a certain time and that kind of thing. Because you did get married in your 20s, though, didn't you? Like early 20s.
Yeah, so I got married at 27.
Right, 27. Yeah, I got married at
27.
28, similar age. Yeah,
But we were well, we got together at the age of 19.
yeah.
So
Okay.
those are the, I guess, they're really the crucial years of your life, really.
They are when you're growing a lot. Do you feel? Is I mean, I can't remember what you said happened, and I don't want to dwell too much on it. But did you find that you grew and then grew apart, evolved?
Um, I think essentially, I think you just become different people as well. I guess from the age of 19 to 30, you become a very, very different person. And yeah, I think that's what it was. You just grow apart. I think it's okay to accept that it's okay that these things do happen. You do grow apart, your interests become different.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to accept that as well. And we shouldn't feel like we have to, there shouldn't be any pressure that we have to stay with that person. And I think sometimes within, especially not just South Asian culture, but all cultures, I think there's kind of this narrative where you've put so much time and effort into being with that person that
Mm.
you invest so much time, like you should just try and make it work. But
Yeah.
it's also just okay to accept that actually these things sometimes just don't work out.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So did you so when you got around to the idea of meeting somebody new and dating again, did you try all the apps or did you kind of say, "Mom, Dad, can you introduce me to somebody?" Like what kind of avenue did you take?
Oh, I start using apps, like, apps I guess for when you're first single, it's a great tool really, because you meet so many different types of people. And from going on those dates with different types of people, you learn a lot about yourself. And no, I'm the kind of person, I have to fully put my feet in 2 feet first for me to fully understand that situation. So I really kind of appreciated dating apps at the time, because it helped me to meet people who are very different to me, and it helped me to really understand what I like and what I don't like. So for me, I think it worked quite well.
And when you met Sima Aunty, so when you started going through with this whole process, like what was it like to actually meet her? Is she as she appears on screen, waltzes in, "I'm Seema from Mumbai," and
So when you see me meet her for the first time, that's genuinely when I first met her. So
okay.
I think I was just completely starstruck. I was like, I can't believe I'm meeting Sima Aunty. I can't believe she's in my parents' house right now. But she's lovely, and I know she really, how do I say this? What you see is what you get with her. So you know exactly where you stand with her. So I quite liked her, actually. I quite liked her for that.
So there's certain people who are like, "Oh no, Seema Aunty, she's just so blunt and the way she says things and stuff." And I'm with you. Like I quite like the fact that she is quite blunt, right?
I mean, she's I wouldn't say she's a little bit blunt, but she's got these years and years of experience of matchmaking, right?
Yeah.
And she can only come from her place of experience and what's worked for her. So when you do meet her, and perhaps some of the things she says are not as progressive as they should be, but you just have to take these things with a pinch of salt. I really think that, and I think there's also pearls of wisdom that you are able to take from her. So for the fact even just using a matchmaker in itself, like the fact that there's less choice, actually I think it makes it an easier process, because you're more likely to invest into that particular match which has been tailor-made for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what was nice in this series was that, towards the end, like, you kind of find out a bit more about her story as well,
Yeah.
and a little insight into, and, it's quite sweet with her and her husband, and he seems, like, really supportive, and just nice to see, like, on a more human level, right? How they are together and her own
Absolutely.
story.
So, she's you can see a kind of more of a softer side to her as well.
Yeah, 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 that was really, really nice. you know, this whole rule of what she always talks about, you're only going to get 60% of what's on your checklist. You know, don't expect to get 100%. You're being too fussy now. Um, do you think that that's true?
Do you know what? Now, reflecting back, I think that I don't think you're ever going to find your 100%. I truly believe that. I think that I'm not perfect, so I can't expect the other person to be 100% perfect either. But I do think there is a element where, you know, I guess now, being in a relationship, it's like there's certain people that you want to be able to work through those things with, and I think that's really key. Is that the foundation has to be set, but beyond that, if you do come across problems, and you have to be able to want to work it through together, and I think that's the key thing with what makes a relationship worth investing into.
Yeah. Yes, I like the way that you put it. Yeah, yeah, I think it is because yeah, you're right. Everyone's got their sides to them which are annoying and stuff, and
Yeah, of
it's just
course.
you just have to be like, oh, you know what? Is there more good so that I can ignore the annoying
Yeah,
thing? Yeah.
we have to work through things, and also I think in your 30s you're a lot more welded, right? And you know, you're a lot more set in your ways in your 30s. So to find a partner and to be able to bring your lives together in your 30s is a lot more challenging, I think, because you're a lot more set in your ways.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know people who are like in their 40s and I look at them and they are set in their ways and they will admit, they'll be like, you know what, I've got my routine now. I'm set in my ways. It's going to be
Yeah.
difficult for me because it's been about them for so long. So 100%. Um, were there some non-negotiables though on your checklist, where it was like, this is going to be in that 60% that I get. It has to be.
I think a good communicator was really, really key for me. Good communicator, also, like, you know, being physically attracted to them as well. I know that, you know, it is important. If you're looking at their face every day, you
Yeah.
want to be attracted to them. So I think that for me that was quite important, and also I guess for us to have similar values as well, having similar values, want being on the same page of where we want our life to go as well. For example, I guess there is, for example, if you want kids and someone else doesn't want kids, there's no middle ground there. So I guess those things are quite important to have you have to be on the same page with those kind of things.
Yeah, they were your non-negotiables. Okay, so let's talk about what happened then. Let's talk about what
Yeah.
happened. So, right, so you went on this date with Bobby, in which we all saw in you know, that date wasn't quite your cup of tea and
Yeah.
her going forward. Um, but then Vim.
Yes.
Tell right, where were we left the series, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, what's gonna happen?" When you'd gone on some dates, and first you were a bit like, "Oh, I don't know." Then you got pulled back in, which is really nice to see. Um, what is happening now?
So we are together.
Yeah.
And things are going really well. Things are going really well. I'm really happy.
That's so nice. So from then, so what is that's not 2 years, but like a year and a bit.
No, so I met Vim last year, so spring last year.
Right.
So
Okay.
we've been together for almost a year, almost a year. So, but you know, we had those kind of that up and down at the beginning as well. But I think we learned a lot about each other in that process as well. And we're still learning, you know, we're still learning so much about each other. But so far, so good.
That's really nice, and,
Yeah.
I'm sure loads of people will be, like, super happy to know that. Um, I mean, what was it like when the cameras went away and the pressure of the program went away?
I think things probably got a little bit it, things probably we probably settled into it a little bit more. We actually started, it was obviously, it was really fun filming and going on dates, and I think once the cameras stopped rolling, then we really got to know each other, and learn a lot about each other. And yeah, it was just it's been a really, really fun year. Like, we've done holidays together, we've met families, and you know, things are going well. Things are going well.
Oh, that's so nice. Is marriage like coming up, or is that something that you think about? Like, I'm being Sima Aunty now because you know what? Sima Aunty would want me to say this.
She would. She would.
The
Have you
thing
been
is,
sponsored by Sima Aunty?
I haven't, but the thing is, and one thing I think that she finds it quite difficult to understand is that with other couples in the show as well who were dating, taking their time and stuff. I think, you know, one couple obviously got engaged
Yeah.
at the end, spoiler alert for people who haven't seen it. But um I think she was kind of like, "Oh, when are you getting married then?" Like, you know, for her, and obviously with the traditional matchmaking thing, it's kind of the result will be
The
marriage.
outcome.
The
Yeah.
outcome when you ticked it off, right, tick, they're married. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I've got these 2 married, success kind of thing. Did she, and she seemed to kind of not compute, the whole thing of like, "Oh, but why are you taking it so slow?" And, you know, it's not just her, like a lot of people of that generation would, think that as well.
They probably would. They probably would think that, but also we. I don't feel any kind of pressure at the
Mm,
moment. And I think it's better just to take your time, not to put pressure on the
yeah.
situation. So no signs of wedding bells quite yet.
Okay, well, I'm gonna, take that pressure off of you. Seema Auntie's gonna, you know. No, no, it's a nice thing. I think, do you think it's a generational thing though? This whole thing of like, you know, well, you've seen each other like 5 times. What the hell are you doing? Get married, get married.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think generations are changing. I think like now my parents, like, they've they actually haven't even, surprisingly, they haven't even uttered the word marriage at all to me
Yeah.
because, probably from my previous experience as well, they just know to take the pressure off completely. So they're learning as well. And they don't want any, obviously they don't want to see me
Mm,
go through something like that again. So the pressure has been completely removed. But it is a generational thing, and there should be no pressure in
yeah.
getting married. I think there is a certain expectation, isn't there? I think, and I probably fell into that when I made that decision that before the age of 30, you should have certain things ticked off your list. You should be engaged, then get
Yeah.
married, live together. Those are the kind of pressures that we had. And I guess I'd be a fool to deny the experience that I've already gone through. So this time around, I'm just going to take my
Yeah.
time.
And it's so nice that you said that your parents are not putting that pressure on,
No, they don't. I'm
as well, 'cause it makes a difference when your family are totally on board with what you want as well, isn't it?
Oh, do you know what? I'm so blessed to have such supportive and amazing parents. They've been my biggest cheerleaders, and even going on the show, people. I've had a few people like, "Oh, well, you're talking about divorce, about your parents," and you know what? My parents didn't even. They didn't even. They didn't even think much of it. They're like, "No, this sounds really fun. You should do it." They
Really? That's so I mean, you
didn't
were
even.
very everyone loved your parents, and come on. Very
No,
sweet.
honestly, they were just like, "This sounds like loads of fun. Let's do it."
Really?
Genuinely, they were just like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Oh, that's so ni did you all, like, sit down to watch it together when it came out?
So actually, I was in Italy with Vim when we watched it together. So we were in Italy together. We watched it, and my parents they were a bit like, "Oh, can you just cancel the trip to Italy? Watch with us." I was like, "No, I really want to go on holiday." But we had loads of conversations after, and they were like, "Oh, this was so funny," and they've become like these little mini celebrities. My dad's like,
Yes.
"Priya, I've just had so many people WhatsApping me saying I've just seen your Netflix. What's happened?"
Yeah, no, no, they were, like, one of the most popular things about that series, I have to say, your parents, yeah. Um, no, it's really cool, they seem like really lovely
No, they're
people.
super supportive. I can't fault them.
Were you happy with the way that, everything came across on screen?
I would say like maybe like 90%. I would say yeah, I'm happy how it
Okay.
came across on screen. And I think what makes it, I guess, for me is that because the outcome was successful, actually I think, you know, whatever's happened has happened now. But I
Yeah.
actually managed to find someone from this. So for
Yeah.
me, I feel like I'm deeply satisfied with the situation and the going on the show.
No, that's really cool. And one thing I have to say about you is that even when like you this date with Bobby didn't really work out and whatever, you were so polite, like you were so nice about the whole thing. And I was actually watching it like with my family, and everyone's, she's so nice. Like the way that you actually said, basically, I friend zone him, was in such a nice, respectful way.
Yeah, I just think that we can't, and Bobby's genuinely, he's lovely.
Yeah,
He's
he does
so
seem lovely.
lovely. And he would make a great partner to a woman one day. But he's just not for me. And I
Yeah.
think that's all it was. But he's lovely, honestly. He's got a heart of gold.
I think you said already what you learned about yourself. That was my next thing that I was gonna ask you.
Would
Like,
I don't did you ask me? I don't think you did.
let me ask you that now then.
Okay.
What have you learned about yourself throughout the whole process of being on Indian matchmaking?
I I learned that I'm probably not as vulnerable as I thought I was.
Right.
I think in theory, when you read about these things, you're like, yeah, tick, tick, tick. I'm all these things, but actually putting those things into practice is
Mm,
something completely. It's a completely different thing. And I probably I probably learned that I probably have a little bit of inner work to do for myself as well, and that I've obviously had experiences in my past that have shaped me, and um, they probably still have a bit of a lingering effect, and I have to just be okay with that. Um, and I think, Vim was so wonderful, and he came in with a completely open heart. And my heart was open, but just not as much as his. And from that, I think I learned a lot about myself in terms of, I think I've got, I think obviously now things are different, but at the time, I think there was a lot of self reflection for me as well, to understand why did I respond like that. And I think that's a really really key thing with any kind of situation you go into, being able to have that self-awareness and understand, why did I react like that, and where is this coming from. That doesn't mean I have to solve it. It just means I have to sit with it and just be aware of it, have that at the back of my mind. Why am I responding like this?
mm. I think we could all do with doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people want to like follow you on social media and see your nice little pictures with them and that kind of thing, put a little heart on it. So can you just share your details, please?
Sure. So on Instagram, I am at Priya.Ashra.
Lovely. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming to talk to me. I'm a big fan of
No,
yours, and I'm so happy that things are going well. It's really lovely to hear, and you deserve it. So,
thank you so much, and
yeah.
thank you so much for having me.
No, no worries. Thank you for listening, everybody. I'll be back next week. Thank you, Priya. Peace out,
Thank
Bernie.
you.
Bye.
Bye.